So Dominik Mysterio, the same guy who's been living in his father's shadow his entire career, who only has a job because of his last name, who's never proven himself as anything more than Rey's son, has the audacity to call himself the king of luchadores and humiliate a mini John Cena on Raw in Oklahoma City. Are you serious right now? This punk has been wrestling for a few years and thinks he can disrespect not just his legendary father Rey Mysterio, but also John Cena, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. This is either Dominik finally stepping out of his father's shadow in the most disrespectful way possible, or it's WWE setting up the most personal, most brutal family destruction we've seen since Eddie Guerrero was involved in the Mysterio family drama. And what Rey did when he rushed the ring has everyone questioning whether father and son are about to go to war. Before we break down every shocking moment of Dominik's disrespectful promo and Rey's explosive reaction, answer this: does Dominik Mysterio have any right to call himself the king of luchadors, or is this the most disrespectful thing he's ever done? Drop your raw opinion now. Monday Night Raw in Oklahoma City just delivered one of the most shocking and disrespectful segments we've seen all year, and it's all because Dominik Mysterio decided to cross lines that you simply don't cross in wrestling. The entitled Prince of Lucha Libre just declared war on his own father and on John Cena, and what happened next was explosive. Let's break down exactly what happened because every detail matters in understanding just how disrespectful Dominik was being. Dominik came out on Raw with his typical arrogant attitude, but this time he took it to a level we haven't seen before. He cut a promo calling himself the king of luchadors. That title, that phrase, is sacred in Lucha Libre culture. It's not something you just claim. It's something you earn through decades of excellence, through carrying the tradition, through proving yourself against the best. Rey Mysterio has earned that distinction. Blue Demon earned it. El Santo earned it. Dominik? He's barely started his career. But it gets worse. Dominik didn't just make the claim, he brought out a mini John Cena. A little person dressed as John Cena, clearly there to be humiliated and mocked. This is the kind of disrespectful angle that crosses from heat into genuine offense. Dominik proceeded to humiliate this mini Cena in front of the Oklahoma City crowd. Whatever he did, whether it was verbal abuse, physical comedy, or outright assault, it was designed to disrespect John Cena, who's from Massachusetts but has deep connections to WWE and is beloved worldwide. The Oklahoma City crowd was losing their minds. Not in a good way. The heat Dominik was getting was nuclear. People were genuinely angry at the disrespect being shown. That's effective heel work, but it's also playing with fire. Dominik then cut a promo about Survivor Series being his moment to end Rey Mysterio's retirement tour. He's vowing to embarrass his own father. To end Rey's legendary career not with respect and honor, but with humiliation and defeat. He also promised to embarrass John Cena in his hometown, which is geographically wrong since Cena's from Massachusetts, but the intent was clear. Dominik is targeting legends and claiming he's better than all of them, and that's when Rey Mysterio had enough. The legendary Luchador rushed the ring, and you could see the genuine anger in his eyes. This wasn't worked anger, this was a father who'd been pushed too far watching his son disrespect everything Rey has built. Have you ever had a family member publicly disrespect you? How did you handle it? Share your story. Now let's talk about the King of Luchadors claim because this is where Dominik crossed the line from regular heel heat into cultural disrespect. In Lucha Libre, titles and honors aren't just wrestling gimmicks, they're part of a sacred tradition. Rey Mysterio is a legend of Lucha Libre. He brought the style to mainstream American audiences. He proved that size doesn't matter if you have heart and skill. He won world championships while representing Lucha Libre. He's an ambassador for the entire culture. For Dominik to claim he's the king of luchadors is like a rookie NFL player claiming he's better than Tom Brady. It's like a first-year rapper claiming he's better than Tupac. It's absurd and offensive. Dominik hasn't earned anything on his own. Every opportunity he's gotten has been because he's Rey Mysterio's son. His training was provided because of his father. His WWE contract exists because of his last name. His position on the card is nepotism, not merit. What has Dominik actually accomplished? Has he won a world championship? Has he had a 5-star match? Has he revolutionized anything about wrestling? No. He's been a mid-card heel who's only memorable because of who his father is. The disrespect to actual Lucha Libre legends is staggering. There are luchadors in Mexico who've worked for decades, who've sacrificed their bodies, who've carried the tradition, and they'll never get the recognition they deserve. And Dominik just crowns himself king. But here's the thing about heel work, this is exactly what Dominik should be doing. Saying outrageous, offensive things that make fans hate him. That's his job. The question is whether he can back it up. From a character perspective, Dominik believing he's the king of luchadors makes sense. He's delusional, entitled, and desperate to escape his father's shadow. This claim is his way of asserting independence. The problem is whether WWE will have Dominik actually prove his claim or just get beaten down. If he loses every time, the heat becomes go-away heat instead of proper heel heat. Does making outrageous claims you can't back up make you a good heel or just an annoying one? Wrestling philosophy. Here's what's making people absolutely furious. The mini John Cena humiliation segment feels like WWE doing offensive comedy that crosses the line from entertainment into exploitation. Using little people as comedy props is problematic and outdated. Wrestling has a terrible history with little people. They've been used as comedy relief, as objects of ridicule, as punchlines. It's demeaning and reinforces harmful stereotypes. WWE should know better in 2024. Bringing out a mini Cena specifically to be humiliated isn't edgy heel work, it's lazy and offensive. There are 1,000 ways Dominik could have disrespected Cena without involving someone being mocked for their size. The Oklahoma City crowd's reaction might have been heat on Dominik, but it's also heat on WWE for approving this segment. Fans are increasingly uncomfortable with this type of content, but the counterargument is that this is fiction and we shouldn't police entertainment. Wrestling has always pushed boundaries. Heels are supposed to do offensive things. That's what makes them heels. If the person playing mini Cena agreed to the role and was compensated, is there actually exploitation? Or are we being overly sensitive about consenting adults performing? The key question is intent. Was this segment designed to generate heel heat on Dominik, or was it designed to laugh at someone? If it's the former, it might be justifiable. If it's the latter, it's problematic. WWE needs to be careful about the line between heel does offensive thing and WWE presents offensive content. There's a difference, and they're not always clear about which side they're on. Should WWE completely stop using little people in comedy segments, or is it okay if they're treated respectfully? Where's the line? Let's discuss Rey Mysterio's reaction because a father watching his son disrespect everything he's built is powerful storytelling. Rey rushing the ring wasn't just a wrestling angle, it felt real. Rey has spent decades building his legacy. He's a first-ballot Hall of Famer. He's inspired generations of wrestlers. He's broken down barriers and changed what people think is possible in wrestling. That legacy is everything to him. And now his own son is trying to tear down that legacy. Dominik isn't just being a heel, he's attacking Rey personally, professionally, and culturally. That's the ultimate betrayal. For Rey, this retirement tour is supposed to be a celebration. A chance to go out on his terms, to thank fans, to pass the torch properly. Instead, his son is trying to make it about humiliation and defeat. The father-son dynamic adds emotional weight that regular feuds don't have. This isn't just business, this is family. The stakes are personal in ways that championship matches can't replicate. Rey's reaction rushing the ring shows he's reached his breaking point. There's only so much disrespect a man can take, even from his own son. Dominik finally pushed him too far. But Rey is also in an impossible position. How do you handle a son who's publicly destroying your legacy? Do you ignore it and look weak? Do you fight back and risk actually hurting your child? There's no good option. The tragedy is that Dominik is doing this because of Rey. He's so desperate to escape his father's shadow that he's willing to destroy their relationship. That's psychologically complex storytelling. WWE has the opportunity to do incredible work with this feud if they lean into the real emotions. The conflict between loving your family and defending your legacy is universal. If your child publicly disrespected your life's work, how would you respond? Could you still love them while stopping them? Now let's talk about John Cena's involvement because Dominik calling out Cena adds another layer to this situation. Cena is one of the biggest stars WWE has ever produced, and Dominik is targeting him specifically. John Cena is in the middle of his retirement tour. Like Rey, Cena is winding down his career and trying to go out with dignity and celebration. Dominik disrespecting that shows he has no respect for legends. Cena's connection to Oklahoma City is tenuous at best, he's from Massachusetts. But the point is that Dominik is threatening to embarrass Cena in front of WWE fans everywhere. That's ambitious for someone of Dominik's limited accomplishments. Cena has been transitioning out of full-time wrestling. He's Hollywood John now. He doesn't need to deal with mid-card heels like Dominik. But the disrespect might force him to respond. The visual of Dominik humiliating a mini Cena is designed to provoke a response from the real Cena. WWE is baiting Cena into defending his honor and potentially adding star power to this storyline. If Cena does respond, it elevates Dominik immediately. Getting in a program with John Cena, even late-career Cena, is a massive opportunity. It's the kind of rub that creates stars. But if Cena ignores the disrespect, it makes Dominik look foolish. He called out a legend and got no response. That's devastating for a heel's credibility. WWE probably has a plan for Cena to eventually address this. Whether it's at Survivor Series or later, there will likely be a confrontation. The question is whether Dominik benefits or gets destroyed. Should John Cena respond to Dominik's disrespect, or is Dominik beneath Cena's notice at this point in his career? Here's a controversial take: maybe Dominik is exactly right and everyone needs to admit Rey Mysterio's era is over and it's time for the new generation. Maybe Dominik calling himself King of Luchadores is him claiming what's rightfully his. Dominik has been living in Rey's shadow his entire life. Every accomplishment gets credited to his father. Every opportunity is seen as nepotism. He's never been allowed to just be Dominik. He's always Rey's son. At some point, you have to step out of that shadow violently. You have to make people see you as your own person. Maybe this disrespect is necessary for Dominik to establish his own identity. Rey's retirement tour is taking up space that could go to younger wrestlers. If Rey really wants to help the business, maybe he should step aside and let his son shine instead of prolonging his own career. Dominik claiming to be king of luchadors forces people to pay attention to him, not his father. It's provocative and offensive, but it's also effective at getting people to focus on Dominik. Wrestling needs new stars. Constantly relying on legends prevents the next generation from breaking through. Maybe Dominik disrespecting legends is actually what's necessary to force change. But the counterargument is that respect matters. You don't build yourself up by tearing down the people who came before you. Dominik should honor his father while establishing himself. The great wrestlers learned from legends and paid tribute while creating their own paths. Rock acknowledged his father and grandfather while becoming bigger than both. That's how you handle legacy. Dominik's approach might get attention, but it's also burning bridges and making enemies. Long term, that's not a sustainable strategy for success. Is Dominik's disrespect a necessary evil to establish himself, or is it just him being an ungrateful punk? Make your case. Here's what WWE absolutely must do to make this storyline pay off and justify all this heat Dominik is generating. First, have Rey respond strongly next week. He can't just take this disrespect. He needs to cut a promo that shows the pain and anger of a father betrayed. Second, build to a match at Survivor Series or another big show. This tension needs in-ring resolution. Father versus son in a stipulation match that forces closure. Third, involve John Cena somehow. Whether he wrestles or just appears, Cena addressing Dominik's disrespect needs to happen. Don't leave that thread dangling. Fourth, give Dominik at least one significant win to back up his talk. If he just loses every time, the heat becomes worthless. He needs to prove he's dangerous. Fifth, explore the psychology deeply. This isn't just a wrestling feud, it's family trauma. Show the emotional toll on both Rey and Dominik. Sixth, have a clear endgame. Where does this story conclude? With reconciliation? With permanent estrangement? Know where you're going before you get there. What match stipulation would be perfect for Rey versus Dominik at Survivor Series? Something that reflects the personal nature of this feud. Let me give you my prediction for how this explosive situation plays out. I think John Cena will respond next week, either in person or via video. He'll address Dominik's disrespect and set up a potential future confrontation. I think Rey and Dominik will have multiple physical confrontations before Survivor Series. Each one escalates the violence and shows how broken this family relationship has become. I think at Survivor Series, we'll get Rey versus Dominik in some kind of stipulation match. Maybe a mask versus career match, or a retirement match, something with stakes. I think Dominik will win through cheating or help from outside forces. This protects Rey while establishing Dominik as legitimately dangerous. I think after the match, there will be a moment of potential reconciliation that Dominik rejects. He'll show no remorse, cementing himself as a true heel. I think Rey's retirement tour continues after this, but with added emotional weight. He's wrestling not just to celebrate, but to process the pain of losing his son to darkness. I think eventually, maybe months later, there will be a redemption arc where Dominik and Rey reconcile. But that's the long game, not immediate. Do you agree with my predictions? What would you do differently? Fantasy book this feud from start to finish. Here's my final take on Dominik Mysterio's shocking disrespect in Oklahoma City and Rey's explosive reaction. This is exactly the kind of personal, emotional storytelling that makes wrestling special. When done right, family drama creates investment that championships alone can't match. Dominik is generating legitimate heat, which is rare and valuable. In an era where fans cheer heels ironically, Dominik is creating genuine anger. That's his job and he's good at it. Rey Mysterio's legacy deserves to be honored, but using it as the foundation for his son's character development is smart storytelling. It gives depth to both characters. The mini Cena segment was problematic and WWE should be more careful about exploiting people for cheap heat. There are better ways to generate heel reactions. John Cena's involvement, even tangentially, elevates this storyline. If he actually gets physically involved, it becomes one of the biggest stories heading into 2025. Survivor Series is shaping up to be must-see based on this storyline alone. Add in everything else WWE is building, and it's going to be incredible. Now I need your complete thoughts on everything. On a scale of 1 to 10, how disrespectful was Dominik in this segment? Does Dominik have any legitimate claim to being king of luchadors? Should Rey fight his son or try to reconcile with him? Was the mini John Cena segment offensive or just heel work? Will John Cena actually get involved physically, or just verbally respond? Who should win at Survivor Series, Rey or Dominik? Can this father-son relationship ever be repaired after this level of disrespect? Smash that like button if Dominik's disrespect has you heated. Subscribe to Wrestling Newsletter because we're covering every development in this family war. Hit that notification bell. Share this with everyone who has opinions on family drama in wrestling. Dominik just declared himself king of Luchadores and humiliated everyone. Rey rushed the ring. This is personal. Oklahoma City witnessed the ultimate disrespect. Father versus son is heading to Survivor Series, and John Cena might be getting involved. This is the kind of storytelling that makes wrestling unforgettable. Let's see if WWE can deliver on this explosive setup.